once again, and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us for the first time, you are still on time because we are just starting the conversations now. But you missed our a short banter with Sakwa and the catch up on everything that was happening over the weekend. But now we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, looking at how technology has evolved and has impacted different sectors. Today we want to take a look at the security sector, and because of that we're looking at smart security solutions, and we have a professional to help us through this discussion. I have been joined by Cyril Kasembeli. He is from SGA, and he will tell us more about what he does at SGA Security and what you're all about. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Stephanie.
Glad to have you with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us your position and what you do.
So, like you said, I'm Cyril Kasembeli. I am an engineer, a physical security engineer. I work with one of the Tier 1 security companies by the name SGA. And what SGA does is provide sustainable integrated security solutions in various verticals. So right from manned guarding to valuables in transit to vehicle tracking up to technology in itself, surveillance, alarm systems, access control. That's all we do. So on a day-to-day basis, we provide solutions to people, to individuals, to homes, to corporates in the security space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And the right person, because we want to take a look at the different areas and what we have, how technology has affected those areas and improved the security that was previously there. But tell us, what do you think about the current security landscape in Kenya and the response of the security industry in Kenya and the region?
The current landscape of security is an interesting one. What we are seeing in the last few years is the evolution of security towards heavy reliance on technology. So different verticals, for example, personal security. We are actually seeing a lot of increased threats, and this is attributed to the economic situation in the country in terms of personal security. So you're walking around the estate, you're walking in town, you're driving around. There are certain threats that are posed around, and also in terms of home security, there are also increased number of threats, and also in terms of corporate security. So these are the areas we are focusing on and looking at improving, so that our customers or the population at large is more secure. So in terms of how security companies or security players are capturing or being able to mitigate these threats, we are seeing a lot of improvement in technology in terms of the use of devices, in terms of use of personal trackers, for example. These are devices that a person could work with, very small devices, and in case you feel like you're under threat, you could press those and get some help towards where you are. We're also seeing a lot of evolution in terms of home security towards the use of wireless systems, towards the use of cloud connectivity. So we are seeing a lot of visibility for home security. Users are now able to have on the palm of their hands the visibility of their houses. You control the systems in your houses. We're also seeing a push towards smart automation and home automation in security. So that convolution of all technologies into one to be able to do several things in one application, and security is part of that. In terms of corporate security, what we've seen is a shift towards cyber security and physical security being intertwined in a way. There is currently a very thin line between physical security and cyber security, and that has been brought by the over-reliance of security systems on networks. So most security systems currently are being embedded on the network infrastructure of the companies or even the homes. So that in a way poses a threat to the cybersecurity landscape, because now bad actors are using the physical security devices to be able to exploit the overall network. This has been seen in banks, this has been seen in other financial institutions. So the cameras you're installing, the access control devices you're installing, if not well secured or not well selected, they are now posing a threat that bad players are using those devices to access the network. And you've seen cases where institutions are losing money because of such. So companies are now going towards making sure what they use in terms of devices employ the best encryption, employ zero trust architecture in terms of access to the devices, such that there is no chance that a bad actor will be able to exploit their network through those devices.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how they are using the physical security to access their networks.
Yes.
So maybe break it down a bit, because we have had stories of banks, being stolen from and all that. But how are they using like the physical to get to the network?
So I'll give a basic example of a surveillance system. So how a surveillance system works is, initially we used to have CCTV systems that are self-reliant or independent. So you have a camera somewhere, you have a recorder, it's connected directly to the recorder. There's no touch on the network. But there came the need from the customers, and this is the world over, that people need to have visibility while working, visibility of the system. So that prompted the players to design a system that you can plug into your network. So one, you could have your recorder connected to the network. If I'm speaking about a bank, for example, you have a bank branch in Lodwar. The head office is in Nairobi. They need to see the cameras in Lodwar, or the CCTV system in Lodwar. What do? You plug the camera system into the network, so that they now, through the network, because the bank branch has connectivity across the country or even further. So through the network, they're able to view the cameras in the head office. But what that does, if the camera or the device itself is not well secured or is not properly selected, then there is a way a person can come and sniff into the network. So the cameras themselves usually provide, some cameras provide a sort of Wi-Fi connectivity, and once you're connected into that, you can be able to hack into the bank's network and you can access other resources. So the bank's ERP, the bank's financial system, and that's how you hear of stories that banks have been losing money and such.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that is, you've already spoken of the threats, that technology also poses in the security landscape, even as it has positively impacted it. And but there are solutions that you can, like that one for instance. What can be done to curb that risk?
So there are various controls that you have to implement. One, your service provider, as a financial institution who is doing your security system, could actually be the threat or could expose you in a way. Because remember, banks don't do security systems for themselves. It's the security companies that do. So you want to make sure your network is segregated in a way. So there are various ways of segregating a network such that the surveillance network is within the network, but it's a separate network. There's a concept for that called a virtual local area network. So that means, yes, it's one network, but that part of the network cannot speak to this part of the network. So the surveillance system is in the network, yes, but it's segregated in a way and cannot switch over. You can access that, but you can't switch over to this other part. That just makes sure the critical infrastructure of the institution, for example, cannot be accessed by anyone that doesn't have access. The other thing is to implement what I call zero trust architecture. And these are controls in terms of access that have multiple authentication levels. You've seen even on mobile devices, access that requires you to get a one-time PIN, maybe use your fingerprint and multiple levels to be able to access. By doing that, someone trying to hack into your network will not be able to do that because they will not be able to provide the second or third authentication. So they'll be stuck somewhere. So there are various ways that players and technology companies are making sure that the systems are secure, but there's a point of implementation as well. You have knowledge or there are structures to do that, but if you do it casually, or if you're contracting a party that does not understand the risks, then you stand a chance of getting attacked because of the way the system has been implemented. So it's very advisable that you look for professionals that understand the threats in the first place, that understand what could affect your institution, and then they're able to provide a solution while looking at the possible risks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's profound and good to know. Now looking at the evolution, please show us the difference, between what we had in the security system, the traditional security system, vis-a-vis what we have now as enabled by technology.
So going back to ages, I would say ages, security was basically the guard or the askari at the gate. So it was manned guarding, pure, without technology, with a rungu, for example. Going further, they came to a point where even the guards have a guard monitoring system, for example. So there's a challenge that was posed by the guards themselves, and you could have experienced this, where guards at the gate, they're supposed to patrol the compound at night, for example, and they're sleeping. How do you verify that the next morning the patrols were done? So technology has been able to bring up systems that are able to monitor the guards, not visually or video monitoring, but to make sure the guard does the patrol. So there's a guard monitoring system that the guard is required maybe hourly to do a patrol across the compound, and using biometrics, scan their finger at certain points across the compound. And the user, not even the security company, at the end of the day in the morning is able to get a report. At 6, this person walked through point A to point Z, if there are 12 points, if there are 26 points, whatever it is. And they did that 12 times through the night. So you're sure this person did not sleep. So that is an example of how technology has been able to shape the guarding space, for example.
But that was only to show that the guard did not sleep.
Exactly.
They're actually doing their job.
They're actually on shift doing their job. There's also a lot of shift, and this is what most people are not aware about, in the surveillance systems, for example. So CCTV as it is, originally was an analog system. Analog in a way that does not connect to the network, there's no Wi-Fi capability, there's no remote viewing and all those sorts of things. But the advent of cloud computing has brought to us an instance where a user does not need to have a screen in their office to sit in front of the screen and view their CCTV. On their mobile phone, wherever they are in the world, they could view footage of their office or their homes. And this has been brought by cloud computing. There are also other technologies like AI that has changed the game completely. So right now, surveillance is not the usual CCTV and footage retention and evidence collection, and you come back to see what happened. It's more proactive rather than reactive. So technology has enabled a lot of things. For example, we are seeing a lot of behavioral analytics. So your security system is able to monitor over a period of time and see that this compound or this premise, there is this pattern. So these people leave at a certain time, these people come at a certain time. Anything off that pattern, then the security system is able to flag. So even the people monitoring your system are more proactive than reactive. They're not looking over 72 cameras looking for someone who is stealing. A notification would pop up and tell them there's an anomaly here. And then they can now look and see, where is this person opening the door at a time that the door is not usually open. So such things. There's other things like object detection. So we have had instances of bombing, etc. Someone leaves an explosive somewhere. So security systems right now, and your CCTV system is able to detect that this is an object that is not usually on this table and flag that, so that someone can actually go and find out why was that left there. And if it looks like something like an explosive, even arms detection, a security system right now can be able to detect a gun on my waist, even without visibly seeing it. So there are thermal imaging cameras that are...
And that's through a camera, not through a scanner,
No, through a camera. That are able to see through and detect that there's an object that looks like a gun, the shape of a gun.
Wow.
So that can be flagged, and then you'll just see someone walking towards you and asking you, do you have a a gun, something like that. So then this has really shaped the way surveillance is done, and it's more proactive. You don't have the manual labor of sitting over a screen and watching a lot. You have seen even surveillance evolving into parking systems, for example. So the malls that you see, we have now image recognition as part of AI and image processing that is now being used by cameras to process number plates. So there is what we call automatic number plate recognition. So you drive into a parking lot, the boom barrier opens, your number plate has been captured. When you're leaving, the same number plate will be captured, and it will already have computed that you stayed in the parking for a certain period of time. That has been enabled by AI and image processing. And we are seeing an accuracy of up to 99.5% and above in image recognition. Initially, there were a lot of faults in parking systems where the cameras or the cameras being used could not capture the number plates properly. But right now, there's a lot of improvement with machine learning and reinforcement learning. There's a lot of improvement in terms of accuracy of capturing that.
Okay.
That also applies to facial recognition. So banks right now are using what is called like a blacklist. So if you have someone who is wanted in the country, for example, a non-criminal, then financial institutions are picking their image and adding to their system, to their surveillance system, as a blacklist.
Wow.
So if this person appears anywhere in their branches, then the system is able to flag this person is somewhere, because they pose a threat to their customers and to the institution. There's also a way of using a whitelist, for example, but that is in more confined areas where only certain people are allowed. But a blacklist is more common, and so you see surveillance is more reactive, is more proactive rather than reactive. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And you have mentioned a lot that's happening. Is this already in place here in Kenya? Because some things like what you've said about the parking and the technology, I'm not sure if I've seen it anywhere. But is it already in use in Kenya?
Yes, there is quite a good uptake of these systems, I would say. But there's an issue of knowledge. There's an issue of people knowing that these systems are actually there. Even the big corporates, there's an issue of understanding that technology has taken us to this level. People are a bit stuck to the old way of doing things, and it could be attributed to financial reasons or the fear that the cost could be this high and so on. But that's not really the case. Technology has enabled solutions to be affordable. And yes, the systems are actually presently in Kenya, the systems I'm speaking about. So we have video management systems that are doing a lot of learning. So for instance, we had a customer that was requesting for a system. This is a factory. And the problem they have is the operators, the line operator. It's a juice factory. The line operators at night sometimes do sleep. So they're working on the machine. This is supposed to be a production line that runs continuously to hit certain targets, but they sleep. They sit on a seat next to the machine and they doze off. And what that does is when the machine stalls, they're not aware, and that affects the whole line. You see, a production line is continuous.
Yes.
So that a stop in a production line for 5 minutes could cost you millions.
Whoa.
In losses. So this customer, their requirement is they want a surveillance system that is able to flag sleeping, for example, and people who are not putting on their PPEs, their hard hats, their safety boots. So they want a system like that.
Wow.
So that system, the system, the backbone in itself is already there. What you do is there are already video management systems that are providing the backbone for you to train them. So artificial intelligence and machine learning is taking us to the level where a security expert is training a system on the need they want. So I would take images of factory workers in PPEs and factory workers without PPEs and train the machine learning model, feed in data, feed in a lot of data, and it's able to know this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm not looking for. Okay. Same way to sleeping. You want to simulate a factory worker sleeping on a seat
and the one who's working.
The one who's working, either standing or just sitting without sleeping, and train it with a lot of data. What that does, it gives you a certain level of accuracy, and when you deploy a security system, even using normal cameras, so what even other players are doing, so that the change is not expensive to the customer, you can keep your cameras, your cheap cameras, let me call them that. But now you deploy a video management software that links to these cameras. It pulls the footage to itself and then analyzes it in a way to flag whatever you want. So that is just an example of what can be flagged in terms of... So security is now going towards improving operational efficiency. So that's an example of a security system helping a factory improve operational efficiency.
Wow, amazing. And I mean, if we have that, then of course we are making gains as a country. You know, if there's operational efficiency, then there are profits, and
exactly.
there's a lot effectiveness happening. You have talked a lot about machine learning and, you know, training these systems and whatnot. But you also mentioned reinforcement learning. So what is reinforcement learning?
Reinforcement learning is a branch of machine learning in a way that what it does is it uses data to train a system. So there's an image that was running around on LinkedIn, I think, of a chicken. So a chicken being trained on which pad to bite on. So there's a pink pad and a blue pad. So you give it a pink pad several times, it bites on it continuously, so its mind is able to tell it, this is the right pad I'm supposed to bite on. You give it a blue one, after some time, it does not. You continue giving it a pink one, it bites on it, yet the material is the same. So reinforcement learning is a way to use a lot of data to train a system on what you want it to observe or what you want it to output. So as an example, you could be learning number plates, for example. So you know number plates in the US are not the same as number plates in Kenya. So if you're deploying a security system, or let me call it a parking management system in Kenya, then you would have to learn the number plate format and the imaging for Kenya. So you'd need a lot of images with different variations. So you see we have the new plates right now, we have the old plates, they don't look exactly similar. There's a difference. You need images of all those, and then you need images of number plates that are not Kenyan, for example. So you use all those images to learn this in the system, and the more you do it, the more the system understands the requirement. So that is basically what reinforcement learning is: continuous use of data to train a system on what is expected to compute.
Okay, amazing. You also mentioned cloud computing and how that has helped the surveillance system from the old CCTVs to now how we can use it on our phone. From work, I can see what's happening in my house and all that. So for those that don't know what cloud computing is, what is it and how does it enable the surveillance systems?
So cloud computing is the availability of resources on the cloud. But what is the cloud? So the cloud is a collection of data centers that remotely managed and properly architectured to be able to provide resources to players worldwide. So right now, as a simple example, you have a system running in your office, installed in your office. But what challenges do you face? Whenever there's a power blackout, it goes off. You can't access that system. People can't access if it's your ERP. If you have internet outage, you cannot access that maybe from home remotely. But what has been designed to have reliability is the cloud. So you could install your applications in the cloud and access those from wherever in the world. And what that gives you is almost 100% reliability in terms of availability. And there are different models and in terms of high availability and redundancy. So there's a way it is designed such that if this data center has an issue, your data is rerouted to the other one and you can still access seamlessly without knowing. So cloud computing is the availability of resources on quote unquote the cloud that you could use in different ways. And that has affected the surveillance industry in a way. In the first simplest way is retention of footage. So previously, retention of surveillance data or video footage used to be local. So you have a recorder, the cameras are connected to it, the surveillance footage is stored on the recorder. But that poses a risk. If I rob a bank and I know their cameras, then I'm looking for the recorder to pull out the hard disk or to go with the whole recorder, so that when you come back, you can't even find out what happened. I will leave the cameras there, but most of them initially did not have a local storage in the camera as well. So now, evolution of technology has brought cloud storage. So cloud computing has availed cloud storage in surveillance.
So you can steal from
So
the
you
cloud.
you can record your surveillance footage locally on the recorder, but as a redundancy, you record it on the cloud.
Backup.
So you can come and steal the recorder, but there's footage on the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself comes with a lot of advantages. So you have footage. I know there's a cost attached to it, but there are also certain regulations that are coming with cloud computing.
Mm-hmm.
So where is this footage being stored, for example? We have a system in Kenya. We need to know where the footage is being stored, and there's a lot of discussion around data and how that's being handled. So that's a whole
different discussion,
yeah.
and maybe we'll have that someday, because there's a lot when it comes to data privacy and you know, how the different how do we call them, the people who manage this data, who store
Yes.
the data, how they're managing it. All right, now how is you also mentioned the personal security, home security. Now, at your own personal space at SGA, how are you? What innovations have you come up with for personal use for home security? How is it like?
At SGA, we have a wide variety of products. I would start with personal security.
Mm-hmm.
So for personal security, there is rising need for school-going kids. So school-going kids, the parents do not have, call it, visibility of where the kids are, what is happening to them, because of the current system of school buses picking the kids. So there are instances where the kid is not okay. Some do not use the bus, they walk to school,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to make sure your kid is okay. So there are certain devices that we have designed that you can attach to a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You can put in their bag, and they're able to show you their location. So you have peace of mind in some way. You know he's on his way to school. He just left school, he's on his way back home. You're in the office,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see where your kid is. There's even a customized solution that we have come up with for bus transportation. What that does is give instant notifications to parents whenever their kids on board a school bus, for example. So you're in the office, you get an SMS, an alert that your kid has now onboarded bus. So this is the number, they're on their way to school. Once they arrive to school, you get that notification. When they come back home in the evening, you still get a notification. That in a way is security, and it gives peace of mind to know that this is where my kid is. But additionally, that device has a panic button.
Mm.
In case the kid is in an emergency, they know to press the panic button such that
Mm-hmm.
the nearest response vehicle is able to respond to this emergency. That panic button does not apply to school-going kids as well. We've gone at lengths to develop a mobile application
Mm-hmm.
that has a panic button that you could use when you're driving on the road.
A mobile application.
A mobile application. So you could press the panic button in the event someone is attacking you and you're on the road, and what that does, it sends your current location to our security control room. And our mobile response vehicles that are all over the country, the nearest to you would respond to that emergency. So that is in terms of personal security. Mm-hmm. There's also innovations in terms of home security.
Okay.
So home security, in a way, poses different challenges. So most people think about home security as an afterthought. Mm. So you construct your house, you've completed the construction, you have Wi-Fi that you can't forget, you have water and everything, but security is never a concern.
Yeah.
But now with the landscape, as we spoke about earlier, then you realize someone one night is trying to knock on your gate. Then you start thinking of, in case this is actually a real intrusion, what will I do?
Yeah.
Will I lock myself inside the house? There are people who could break your window and such things. Mm-hmm. So we have come up with a wireless home security solution. Wireless because most installations are retrofit. it's an afterthought. You've already
Because
painted
you've
your
already-
house.
Yeah, by design, it's not wired
Yeah.
for
Yeah, you
for
do not
security.
wire. You don't think about this when you're building your house. So it's wireless. There are different sensors. There are door contacts. There are motion detectors, and all these sensors work in synchrony, even with other smart home systems. So we're looking at instances where the same system has a device that could be able to allow you on a mobile application, switch off your TV, for example, or switch off your fridge as a smart plug. So that in itself has brought home security into home automation, and it's one thing in a way. And all that in one mobile application. You can control everything remotely. You can view your CCTVs remotely. Your CCTVs are more reactive, are more proactive than reactive. You can set them in a way in areas. If they detect motion, they can send you a notification. So in the office and you're seeing someone walking in your bedroom, that is abnormal. At least you're able to react in time before you come back home in the evening and you have nothing in the house. So that's one of the flagship innovations we've come up with, the SGA home security solution, that also couples safety and security. It has a component of medical emergency response. So in the same mobile application, you do have a medical emergency button. So SJ is a security company and will respond to your security emergencies. Wow. But if you have also a cat, if someone in your house has fainted, our response crew may not be the best people to respond to that kind of emergency. So we've gone at lengths to partner with different players that are doing ambulances all over the country. So if you press the same medical emergency button, you're able to get assistance that is towards the need that you have.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. You know, you have mentioned that I can, with the automation, I can be at work and remember, oh, I did not switch off the lights, then I can do that. I did not, my fridge is, I need to put it off. I can do that from wherever I am through a mobile application, right?
Yes.
And I'm able to monitor my house in any prompt if there's something, if there's anything. Now I'm trying to look at how are you working, because people also feel like technology, particularly AI, is coming to take over jobs, and now looking at the security space, is it taking over the jobs of the security personnel, or how are you working together with them?
I come from the school of thought where technology and AI in specific is not taking over jobs. It's actually coming to make it easier to work. But there's an element of adaptability where the workforce needs to sort of skill themselves in these other skills that are more related to AI currently. So this, for example, in the guarding space, there is no level of AI that could replace the manned guard. I know there are robots. I know there are sentry robots that are being used already, even in the hotel industry. But there's an element of emotion that does not come with a robot. Yeah. And humans do not want to lose that. So your guard at the gate in the morning will say hi to you and find out how you're doing. And that element, you don't want to lose it. So what we are doing is making sure that AI in itself is able to complement the guard. AI is able to make the guards work easier. Instead of the guard walking around multiple times looking at, is everyone's car okay, they could be seated in their guard hut or in the control room monitoring a system that is giving them certain alerts. So the skill is now to make sure this guard is able to be trained, and as a company we are doing that, train them in the skills that are more related to AI and more related to technology as we are moving forward. So we are not really losing the workforce for AI, but we are maintaining them and maybe transitioning them to an area that is more related to technology and making work easier.
Okay. Yeah. So talking about upskilling, so for these guards, what is it that they're supposed to know or to study for them to be up to be at par with the trends, the current trends in the security space?
There are certain trainings that as a company we are upskilling the current workforce we have, but as a requirement we also are looking at proactive video surveillance. So initial video surveillance training was based on the rudimentary way of looking at a camera, waiting for a thug to appear or something like that. But now the mind shift is pushing us towards surveillance that is more reactive, notifications. So the training we are doing for the guards currently is aligned towards the reliance on the use of notification, how to react, such kind of protocols, so that we are now able to conglomerate AI into the systems we have. And the guard now is not thinking their work is looking at a CCTV footage or CCTV camera for 12 hours because the human mind could not.
You can't just sit still, you know, the whole time. You gotta walk.
Or you lose focus and something will pass your eye.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Looking at these systems, how affordable is it? You know, because with technology, as you've said, in the corporate space, some have the fear that, oh, this is could be too expensive. Let me just stick to what we have here. How affordable are this, or are they just for high-end markets? Can no more 190 common middle class afford such?
I would say there's something for everyone. So technology has helped us, for example, in surveillance systems and CCTV, to have a single standalone camera. And you see a lot of need with the common population to have a nanny cam. That is a security system. It's a standalone camera. It records in the device itself. It has Wi-Fi capability. You can see it remotely. That's not an expensive device, as you would say. Okay. It's easily affordable. Even alarm systems are modular in nature. So you could have a big house that needs 50 sensors, too many windows, doors, motion sensors, but the same system could accommodate a house with 2 doors. You want to only secure your doors. The cost is not the same, so it's cheaper for less devices. Okay. But what we are doing in the security industry and at SG as a company is building a subscription-based model for security systems. So you don't have to go through the hassle of the initial expenditure of purchasing the devices, and that is what scares people away. Okay. So we're doing a subscription-based model that many players like the ISPs, the internet service provider, use. So you pay for the service you consume. You pay for internet. If you don't pay for internet, it is disconnected. There's nothing you're buying. You're not buying the router. Most people are not actually selling the routers. They come and plug in a router, and you have internet. So we are providing security as a service as it is. So you have your system installed, the devices are leased to you, it's installed in your house or your business, and all you pay is a monthly subscription fee. Okay. And that has really taken the cost very low and very manageable for everyone across board. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's fair enough. You can, you know, there's everything for everyone. Yeah. So if someone wants to have just to use the security for when they're on travel for their car, you know, if in case they're attacked, hijacked, you just go to the application, the panic button. If that's just what you want, you can get that particular product only.
Yes, you can, and there are actually various variations to it. So if you're speaking about a vehicle, there is a security system for a vehicle. There's a vehicle monitoring system. So you know of a vehicle tracking system.
Vehicle tracker.
So it has gone levels to fuel monitoring, to proper tracking systems, to driver behavior analysis. So there are vehicles that, from the manufacturer, are coming with a dash cam, one facing the front, the other one facing the driver. So you would hear notifications in your vehicle that you're exhausted, please take a break. Wow. How has that happened? That camera looking at you has noticed you're yawning. Over a period of time, you yawned 5 times in an hour, and that in its analysis is you're tired, or your eyes are dozing off. It's able to detect that. So that is a solution that has been deployed greatly in the transport industry, in the trailers, etc. And with that, even in your vehicle, you could have a physical panic button in your vehicle, and that panic button will send the location details of where you are. So if you're in an emergency, you could quickly press that panic button, and your security company would send a response vehicle close to where you are. Wow. A mobile application has its advantages and disadvantages, or application scenarios. So when you're driving, it could be a bit tricky to get to your phone and press
before you open it and press the
panic button. But it's quicker. If you're driving somewhere near your steering wheel, there's a button you could quickly press and get help. So different scenarios, different solutions.
How does it work? Because if you're in a situation and it's a life-threatening situation, usually there's a call. So you are from a customer care, from the security, but maybe you're not in a position to answer the call because there's a gun at your head and you can't really go to say, oh, I'm being hijacked or something of that sort, or my car is being stolen. So how does that work? Do you just send the security personnel to where they are, and if they're in motion, you've just been hijacked and they're kidnapping you, they're taking you with a car together, does it track you all the way, or how does it happen?
So there are different application scenarios. So the primary one is basic alarm response. Basic alarm response is stationary. In a way, we installed a system at a certain location. We expect an alarm from that location. So you press a panic button, our response vehicle, the protocol defined is they respond to the emergency and they find out the details while on the way. If they don't get you on call, then there are certain ways to know that maybe you're in an emergency, you're in a security emergency and you couldn't pick your phone, but nevertheless, the first step is to send the vehicle to the location, because we know the location. In an instance where you are mobile, then you send a signal. That signal is sort of an activation of continuous tracking of where you are. So if you're moving around, then you're able to track this is where you're going, and the vehicle is able to follow through. And there are systems to show both the response vehicle and the customer's vehicle and track up to where the customer is heading. But it's primarily based on protocols defined, and I would say those are defined by the customer and ourselves in an engagement. So there are instances where we use code words. For example, if you're called and at gunpoint, there's something you say, and we will understand that you're actually in distress, and we will still respond. Or if you press the panic button accidentally, you will tell us something to understand that this was accidental. So there are certain protocols with different customers. There are those who do not want a call. They want response immediately, and we do exactly that. But it's primary that even in instances where the customer has said, no, this was a false trigger, we still go there and make sure they're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's profound, because in the car systems, what has been common is the tracker and the cutout, just so someone can steal your car. But looking at this, all the security systems, I think we're moving in the right direction with technology, and it's really coming in to make life easier for us. And as we come to a close on this conversation, what is the next big thing in the security space?
The next big thing in security is reliance on quantum computing. I see this in the next 5 years, it will be a big thing. That and the heavy reliance on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence as it is now, if you look at it, it's more an application on itself. So you have AI, you have generative AI, most people use that for queries. But now the systems that we are consuming, the video management systems, are now coming inbuilt with AI. And that will go on and on to a point where everything in these systems, or most of these systems, will have AI in them. The reason is there's need for analytics, and there's need for consumption of data in these systems in a way to be able to make sense out of them, to be able to react to emergencies better. So AI is a game changer in itself, and quantum computing as well. So the more the data that we're generating in security systems, the better the systems to consume this data faster. So there's also a push towards what is called edge computing.
Tell us about it.
Edge computing is the security systems as they are currently, most of them, the system in the background is the one that analyzes the footage, for example, if it's a CCTV system. But we are going to a place where the camera itself has a chip and it's empowered to analyze the footage by itself and just send an alert already analyzed. What that does is gives you a quicker response to emergencies, because you do not need to send data to the back end for it to be processed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it can only get better
Yeah.
from where it is. Wow. Looking at that, what advice, therefore, but before you even get to the advice, because you're closing with that, is that, you know, some people have this, part of the fears that they have, looking at the security systems and how AI learns your behavior, you know, the motion sensors and all that, you know, that they know your patterns. Is there any danger from AI knowing you so much, you know, like it knows you better than you would even know yourself? Because maybe some things we just do and we don't even know that we do them, but this system is able to know that you do this, something that you don't even know that you do, you know. So is there a danger in AI knowing too much about you?
I don't think there's a danger. I think the purpose is to make life easier, in a way. So AI learns patterns in different systems. So in security systems, it's able to understand your movement, to understand your timing, to understand everything. You might be busy in life to know that this is how you operate on a day-to-day. But the system you've installed in your house knows that you leave the house at a certain time, you come back at a certain time, and you do certain things at certain times, to a point where if you miss doing those, it's able to alert you. So it's making your life easier. For example, if you forget to close your door,
oh, you've not closed
and the
it.
system is able to tell that the door is open, and it knows that every day after 9, this door is always open up to 5, closed up to 5. So today, what happened? It's open, so it will notify you. So there's a lot of help that AI is bringing to our daily lives, but then I think the question of privacy and yeah, is a question of discussion, and just how much does the system have access to, and how is that data being processed somewhere in the background. So for players in every industry, it's critical that you have the right certifications in terms of data protection, that you do know the general data privacy regulations, that, and you conform to those are global, and that you know how retention of data is supposed to be, for how long, after how long are you supposed to get rid of the data, what kind of data is personal, what kind of data is not, and be able to be keen on that, because it could lead to a place where you actually sued for mishandling personal data.
And that's what we were talking about, and data controllers need to be very aware of this, you know, how much information do you have the right to hold this information, because again, if they have too much information about you, they can use it, because data is the new oil currently. And it's being used by many people. I remember there's a story some time back of how a woman was brought for I think diapers or something, and she didn't even know she was pregnant by Amazon. There was a whole story on that. I was like, wow, because they had mastered her, so they knew, she was pregnant before she even knew it. And I thought that was crazy. But anyway, what advice would you give to home and business owners looking to future-proof their security systems?
The advice I would give is, one, partner with proper certified security consultants or companies in the implementation of your systems. What that does is ensures the highest standards are conformed to, your system is foul-proof, and that any threats are quickly mitigated in the instance they're able to be detected. The second thing is to not focus so much on cost. So you see, security has a cost element to it, but if you focus so much on cost and the fact that it's not a basic need, and you do not take care of your security, the implications could be more expensive than just having a proper security system. So the two together, get a partner that is able to do a proper security assessment of your premises or your business, design a proper security system, deploy the same system, maintain the same, very important. There's an element of maintenance to security systems that most people downplay. Systems, over time, they become obsolete. You need upgrades. You need firmware upgrades for certain devices, and these are certain these are the devices that actually lead to certain vulnerabilities in certain institutions. So you want to make sure they have the latest firmware so that they are not exploited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Cyril. This has been very informative, very helpful. Where can people find you on social media or your company if they want to reach out?
You can find our company SJ Security on all social media platforms. So SJ Security on LinkedIn, SJ Security on Instagram, SJ Security on X, SJ Security on Facebook. Our website also www.sjsecurity.com. You can always reach out in case you have any security needs.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you
once
very
again.
much.
Looking forward to having you for more discussions. We have only touched about data privacy, and I know there's a whole lot of discussion around that.
Yes.
So that has been our discussion around smart security solutions, and I hope you have seen the trends that are there if you didn't know about it, and you're making plans towards securing either your personal space, your home, could be your car, could be whatever it is that there is. And we have been talking to Cyril Kasembeli, who's the lead engineer at SJ Security. Right about now, we're going to take a short break because Brand Sakwa will be coming next, and he'll be discussing about brand placement. So stay with us.